Unearthed U.S. government documents reveal feds are manipulating hurricanes. Hurricane Ian battered Florida and South Carolina, and the federal government responded by saying Ian ends discussion, quote unquote, about man-made climate change. But does it really? Or are there more nefarious forces at work here? Hurricane Ian was a large and destructive Category 4 Atlantic hurricane. It missed Category 5 by 2 miles an hour. It was the deadliest hurricane to strike the state of Florida since 1935 Labor Day hurricane. More than 100 people lost their lives with Hurricane 4 storm as rescue teams are conducting their final search for victims. According to Joe Biden, Hurricane Ian ends discussion on climate change. He said there's a lot going on. I think the one thing that has finally ended is a discussion about whether or not there's climate change and that we should do something about it. While there can be no doubting the scale of the carnage wrought by Hurricane Ian, does Hurricane Ian really end discussion on the contentious issue of climate change? Educator and activist Peggy Hall has unearthed U.S. government's documents from over 50 years ago showing that reveals the government has admitted to manipulating hurricanes and forest fires for its own benefit. According to the documents, the Department of the Navy and the Department of the Air Force, along with General Electric, worked together to manipulate hurricanes. The bombshell information was unearthed by Hall in a paper published by General Electric titled History of Project Cirrus from 1947 to 1952, which was a study of how cloud particles and cloud modifications can affect hurricanes. Why would the government attempt to manipulate the weather? Hall says the purpose of government hurricane and forest fire manipulation is to instill fear, uncertainty, and inflict hardship on certain population centers with the purpose of gaining control over people by using FEMA and federal funding. It turns out that the practice of seeding clouds with silver and lead iodide is nothing new. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. military conducted geoengineering weather modification as a strategy to muddy the supply roads in the Ho Chi Minh Trail by causing it to rain with cloud seeding. The chemical weather modification program was conducted from Thailand over Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, and was allegedly sponsored by then Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and the CIA. Then in 2017, the mainstream finally caught up with so-called conspiracy theorists. Weather manipulation jumped from conspiracy theory to mainstream reality as Congress held its first hearing on geoengineering and the U.S. House Subcommittee on Environment and Subcommittee on Energy hearing discussing how the government secretly controls the weather. All of which raises the question, why is the government modifying the weather? Using cloud seeding to gain an advantage over a foreign enemy is one thing, but modifying hurricanes and forest fires in the U.S. is another thing entirely. America has been battered by hurricanes in the last few years, and forest fires have become an existential threat for those living in certain parts of the country. Now that we know the government has admitted they control hurricanes and forest fires, we deserve to know what exactly they're doing with these powers. Because reading between the lines, it sounds like the Biden administration are using hurricanes and forest fires to build the case for punishing climate change solutions, including carbon tax, rolling climate lockdowns, and a green Sabbath. Of course, the proposed solutions to the climate crisis are nothing less than tools to achieve absolute control over humanity. In a recent Unearthed video, Bill Gates admits to his inner circle that clean energy is a scam and does not fix the climate crisis. The past 2 years have been a checklist of the worst impulses of authoritarian far-left governments, and the public are growing wise to the ruse. COVID allowed for supposedly temporary measures to morph into 2 years of emergency restrictions. And according to those in the know, COVID was only the warm-up, and another proclaimed crisis is set to be the main event. All the signs are pointing towards climate change being a crisis. This is by Baxter Dimitri on newspunch. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.